The experience transfers value. It transfers wisdom. Also resilience. The very things about your experiences that you disliked, that you may have regret, that maybe you complained or felt you wish you could speed up the time in which you could get past that season in your life. Turns out, that's exactly what makes you valuable. It's having the resilience to allow those experiences to make you born. Born as in become who you really are, which is a constant. It's a continuum. It's a seasonal process over and over again. So, testimony, control chaos. What's it all about? Capricorn Pholus, we're going to understand this close to home with the impulses of the inner self, the close self, Mars, Venus, Sun, Mercury. Oh yeah, it's time now to see that this value is transferable, and the control that we sought may not have been so significant, but the expansion of the mind is really where the trick was at all along. Allowing the chaos to come in and inform us of how perfect wisdom descends to our limitations in wisdom. Understand that. This is time to let your testimony become a vision. Let your vision inform the infrastructure during the Capricorn transit of the stellium, where there's much to anticipate of what's to be created, constructed. Understand, this is initiative. You have a revolution to call to, and it's all part of the things that you suffered, the things that you experienced, and the solutions that you could have anticipated all along. So, let me remind you of someone who demonstrated that very well, transferring experience to a mercy and service for the people. That is, what he suffered, it became a service, which is where we're headed at, Aquarius, Pluto. Understand, where we're showing up in empowerment as service to each other, to the society, to the people, coming down off of the mountaintop of Capricorn with the value of the experiences that we endured in process of being the ibex who scales a mountain to lick the salt on the side of the hill. Understand that. So, check it out. Hampton. Who else, you heard?
Party free in Hampton. We work with anybody and form coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You've got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pigs. The people are going to have to stand up against the pigs. That's what the Panthers are doing. That's what the Panthers are doing all over the world. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism. And we know that racism is just it's a byproduct of capitalism. If we don't hate the motherfucking white people, we hate the oppressor, whether he be white, black, brown, or yellow. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people. I'm Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly and I hate Indians. So we fight amongst each other. Nothing's more important than stopping fascism, because fascism will stop us all. That's the people's thing. Socialism is the people. You're afraid of yourself. If you're afraid of socialism, you're afraid of yourself. With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism. What we're talking about is there has to be educational program. That's very important, because if they don't have an education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere, because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more, and before you know it, they'll be capitalists, and before you know it, we have Negro imperialists. Me, myself, I was born in a so-called bourgeois community and had some of the better things you could say in life. And I found that there was more people starving than there was people eating. And I found that more people didn't have clothes than they did have clothes. And I found that I just happened to be one of the few. And I made a commitment to myself that I wouldn't stop doing what I'm doing until all those people are free.
We're going to walk down the Capricorn stallion that we got going on, specifically concerning Pholus and the personal planets that we have affected by Pholus. And let me walk through the 3 stages of Capricorn, which is the cave stage, the goat stage, or mountain goat stage that is, and the sea goat stage. Understand that. And progressively, where this energy will ascend to, right? Starting with the cave stage, where it's more about introspect. You're finding the perspective, you're gauging the work, and you're transferring intent into long-term process. So this requires isolation, quiet, alignment with the inner self. It also requires discernment and a deliberate separation in itself from the desires in order to transfer value, demands into infrastructure, a vision into infrastructure. So it's much like a goat in a cave, understand? And so self-discovery from Scorpio and Sagittarius transfer of that stellium, it works toward finding a foundation in the reality, the real world, the material world, the 3D reality that you live in. How do I find a correlation in the 3D reality to where I could express what I'm now embodying internally as self-discovery? How can I give this infrastructure or form? So it takes reflection, and it takes the ability to relate the inner value with the outer value, potentials and possibilities, and correlate them together as a concept for a foundation. So what should this foundation look like in my outer reality so that I can start building it? What needs to be the foundation of the infrastructure? Secondly would be the mountain goat stage. This is where the ambition comes in. And it's the aspect that I speak of many times, of the ibex or the mountain goat, scaling the mountains. Okay, you're in the active expression of your ambition as you climb or ascend whatever ladders, process in long-term commitments that you now have clarified is required for you to attain this ideal. You now know what it's going to take. You know what direction to go. And you're committed to that. You've also counted and assessed and evaluated the liabilities that are potentially there, the costs that are potentially there, and you're willing to carry that burden. And uphill you go. You're on that journey, you're fully vested, you're committed, whatever it takes. Don't stop until you get there. And so a strong reason, a strong why factor has to push you up there. And without enough drama behind you, without enough pain, drama, or desire to generate that commitment, you won't make it. You won't do it. So there's value in what we suffer. Many times the suffering in and of itself, the pain, the discomfort, humiliation, vulnerabilities, fears, it can be a very strong motivating factor, or even love can be a very strong motivating factor to scale beyond our fears and limitations, or perceived fears and limitations. And that's the type of energy that this is in an ambitious sense. And so it's about achievement and material success. The status that's required at the 10th house, the success that's required at the 10th house, and MC, that places us where we anticipate we need to be at the 11th house, where we have value to bring down from the mountaintop that we scaled into the service of humanity, which is Aquarius. We have something to pour forth from the gourd, and we brought it from the mountain. And this descent from the mountain is the final stage of the sea goat. That's the wisdom and maturity that has been achieved in due process. As you know, any ambitious pursuit includes many dark turns. Saturn is dark energy. Disillusionment, humiliation, setbacks, inconveniences, blockages, delays, all type of issues that works against your will, that works against your desire, and that works against the timing that you would prefer to be on. It's where Father Time is in charge, and we become disillusioned quite often. And so we bring that spiritual understanding. We also bring the sensitivity and compassion from suffering many things in that, and the detachment that we now have because of the ego deaths and the moments of disillusionment on the way up the mountain. We now have received a spiritual status and conditioning through that makes us fit to bring water to the people, Aquarius. And that becomes the sea goat. Wisdom, detachment, more of an Aquarian nature. And the experience is not for personal ambition, but for the greater good of what it can serve, but in reflection of what it has experienced. So considering all of this, the stellium has to go through these three phases. And I want you to consider all of this as you listen to this full discourse. It's a little marathon, you know what I mean? I had, good amount of time to regenerate, recalibrate and all of that. And, I got plenty of feedback right now, y'all. So let's walk these dogs. Life path number 8, heart soul urge number 8. Also life path number 4, heart soul urge number 4. And master numbers. Okay, you want to take this entire discourse personally. You want to take this entire discourse personally. Also, if you have Capricorn at significant placements such as the 1st house, 4th house, 10th house, you understand? These places or stelliums in Capricorn that are significant in aspects that hold weight on your chart, understand that? You want to take this into consideration personally as well. That the rigid nature of some aspects of you, it's going to require some eccentric or unorthodox flexibility in how you're going to proceed from here on out. And the way that you're going to be relating to yourself is more as the wisdom of the goat rather than the ibex who's just simply in ambitious pursuit without a purpose that can really be felt. And so, this is more about experience, testimony, and wisdom that pours forth from you, and how you're going to deliver it to humanity as a service that expresses who you truly are, while also showing up with the gifts that you learned to finally master. The stallion passing through Capricorn could be a great awakening for you, and a time where you finally get to feel like your name has been called to stand up and show leadership, demonstration, or to where you feel like now it's worth getting up and getting into motion because you know that you are a strong hand. And when you're called to do something, you know that you will see the process all the way through. And so, I would like you to take personal consideration if these happen to be your vibrations. Understand? Just walk these dogs.
Influence and membership, so they push back from the state. The Panthers sought meaningful activities for members so that they could serve the community and strengthen the party and improve their public image. So they deployed community programs, and they quickly became a cornerstone of the party's activities nationwide. The Panthers community programs began in 1969 under Bobby Seale's leadership because Eldridge Cleaver had went into exile and Huey Newton was still in prison. And it marked an important transformation for the Panthers' political ideals. The idea was inspired by Mao Zedong's advice to revolutionaries in the Little Red Book, and Newton called for the Panthers to serve the people and make survival programs a priority within its branches. The Panthers launched its first breakfast program for children at St. Augustine Episcopal Church in West Oakland. The parishioner Ruth Beckford Smith coordinated the program. When the party decided to organize a breakfast program for children at St. Augustine, Beckford Smith volunteered to coordinate the program and help organize it. The first day of the program, it only served 11 children. By the end of the week, the program was serving almost 135 children a day. When Bobby Seale went to prison in 1969, David Hilliard, chief of staff for the party, took the reins of the party's organization. Hilliard continued to give priority to the development of the free breakfast program for children, and during his tenure, the program spread like wildfire, becoming the Panthers' most important activity. The breakfast program was an important public face for the party and also matched the Panthers politically and ideologically. The Panthers claimed to have fed 20,000 children between 1968 and 1969, and they said they hoped to feed almost 100,000 between 1969 and 70. These breakfast programs enjoyed widespread support within the Black community, and the free breakfast program adopted a rigorous routine. Members had to be at the site early in the morning in time to prepare the food and be ready for the children arriving before they ate and headed off to school. Transporting some of them from the home to the site and then to school was yet another vital offering and a logistical challenge. While children ate their meals, though, members taught them Black liberation lessons consisting of the Black Panthers Party's messages and Black history.
Testimony, before we get into anything, I want us to start valuing, testimony. And our testimony comes from that 8th house. But it's rooted in the clarity that we have in the 4th house, with the inner child, with our matriarchal conviction in the self, as well as the Cancer clarity, which is lunar, matriarchal. However, do we stay true to that as we pass through the transformative trials, tests, and power struggles of 8th house experiences matter, Scorpio territory, shadow work, so on and so forth, that becomes a testimony. And that testimony is a witnessing for or against yourself, for or against others, and what was true or what was evident or not. Understand that. You can't fake it in the 8th house. If you do, you're simply exposed. So that is testimony. Testimony always witnesses to the truth. It always describes, animates, and clarifies how the laws of God and His universe operates. How light overcomes the dark. In enough time, it will always be that case. For this reason, it's also the source of our strength, the source of our faith. It increases our stamina, our conviction, our boldness, our courage. It makes warriors of us. Of course, it's to no surprise because 8th house is a territory of Scorpio. What have you been through? What have you suffered? What have you prevailed? What experiences have transformed you to where you can testify that this is the case, that the laws of this universe works this way or it does not? That the situation is going to turn out this way or that's going to turn out that way based on what you understand and how these universal laws and precepts and commands operate in this world. Understand, this is also internal. The testimony. The testimony is where you stand in the court and you give that witness, you present that evidence as witness. It can comfort you, or it could be your worst nightmare, depending on what side of truth that you decide to stand on. But one thing for sure, you will never witness against the truth. The truth will always witness against you if you happen to not be on its side. The book of Psalms 119. Incline my heart to thy testimonies. Incline my heart to thy testimonies. Imagine that. This is you intentionally aligning yourself with an interest, within seeing the interest, your best interest. And the benefit, the blessing, the favor, the mercy even, that's in the due process of the 8th house. That's in your commitment to the 8th house, your respect to the 8th house, to that court where you testify, or where another testifies, where the testimony is conjured, is developed, is manifest, because that's where the experience comes of testimony, of truth. These are 8th house things. Now, when we get to embody that testimony or live as a testimony, that is the Sagittarius conviction, the conviction of truth. The opposite end of that, where truth testifies against us as consequence of defying truth in the 8th house circumstance experience, where you are being witnessed against, you now become the dogmatic, ignorant, loud and boisterous fool who spreads destructive fires. Understand, the centaur who submitted to the beastly nature, throwing darts with no target. This bridge between Scorpio and Sagittarius, 8th house and 9th house, that's the place of testimony. And we pass through the place of testimony. And it's for us to learn to look enthusiastically at living life, anticipating that we are embodying a testimony. Because that's part of our witnessing and that's part of the transfer of truth and the spreading of that truth in ways that aligns with witnessing and understanding, aligning with the will of this universe that is surely compassionate. But because it also will never be inconsistent with truth, it's our delusions that we are confronted with painfully as we learn to cope with the consequences of not aligning with truth prior to realizing truths. Psalms 119:71. It is good for me that I've been afflicted, that I might learn the statutes. It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn the statutes. Affliction, a good thing. Recognizing the benefit in affliction. We learn things. That is Saturn. That is Pluto. That is 8th house, for sure. And it affords us gain in the 9th house. The 8th house gives fruit to the 9th house. Let's understand this about testimony and experience. And the fact that were it not for the karmic trials that we pass through, we wouldn't have a testimony. Let's take greater value in the testimony. That's the transferable value. It's the transferable wisdom. It's part of the essence of conceptualization. Just think about this. It's the water in the gourd of the water bearer that pours forth to Pisces. That's what it becomes. It becomes that timeless wisdom that has infinite potential for how it can benefit you and humanity, informing what must be done. Restores confidence, hope, clarity, faith, trust, insight, foresight. Take value in what you pass through. Also in the present moment, be prepared to be grateful for the fact that we do get subjected to seasons of transformation. We do get subjected to that which we otherwise would not willingly step into if we knew what it would take. That's grace in and of itself. If we knew what it would take to make it from point A to point B in a season, if it was up to us to select that lesson or to select that process, knowing all that it would take, which not always, most of the time we don't know what it will take, okay? Because our desires many times leads us into inevitable trials, consequences, outcome, experiences, where we end up in the 8th house, undergoing what seems to be sufferings, challenges, trials, power struggles, so on and so forth. But the outcome is something greater than jewels, something greater than silver, something greater than gold. The wisdom. Wisdom and resilience. Isn't it beautiful when we embody wisdom, when we embody resilience? When we walk with that experience without it destroying us. Especially when you don't look like you've been through what you've been through. But it illuminates you. It gives you a master grip to pull souls out of the grave. So when we look at statutes along this same line, that goes with the ninth house in philosophies, is that we realize, along with the universal laws at play in this realm, there are statutes that are very specific to specific actions, specific behaviors and intentions, connections, interactions, circumstances, conditions. These become the statutes or the taboos that we know to respect, that we learn to have reverence for in life, that gives our life ease, the power to prevent. And we can share that power with others to give them ease and to prevent if they so choose. Sagittarius has the potential to renew or expand those statutes, which then informs a new order through Capricorn, which transfers ninth house to the 10th house, which upgrades what? The character, the status, that which we are qualified to inherit in life, that which we are qualified to be entrusted with in life, that which we receive not because we say we want it, but because we have become it, and it must be reflected. The MC to mid-heaven, status correction. It all works together. Seeing burden, responsibility, duty, not as something to inconvenience us, but something to process us through appropriately if our wish is sincere. That there's a proper route, a proper access to all things. Duty and responsibility surrounds all things that we request. So, Psalms 119, 35, 36, right? Make me to go in the path of thy commandments, for therein do I delight. Make me to go in the path. You are calling upon your higher consciousness to make you go into the path of his commandments. His commandments in singularity, Jupiter, Saturn. Okay? Jupiter being the spirit of, Saturn being the operational obedience of. Okay? Of the same thing. Okay? In other words, Jupiter, I understand why I should operate along this line. Saturn, I understand the consequences of neglecting to operate along this line. Okay, so you see why it's a he. Okay? It's a patriarchal expression that's informed by a matriarchal essence. Cancer always. Alright? Now, make me to go in the pathway of thy commandments. Pathway points out that there's options, there's decisions, always. There's always decisions. We always free to choose. And the pathway of commandments is where we delight. There could be an illusion that we delight in escaping that, going around that. But did we not learn from the Pisces Saturn transit that it's quite the opposite? That when we skip due process, when we skip on Saturn, when we go around Saturn, you catch more hell, you catch more regret. It spoils all the fun that you tasted. It spoils all the sweetness that you consume. It can soak you in misery and regret. The consequences. The delight is in where that stability and security is. Jupiter and Saturn. The stability and security being reminded to us that is in the foundational Cancer, the matriarchal core and essence of the self that reflects the intent of Mother Allah. The will of Allah is motherly and fatherly in one. The motherly aspect of that is a matriarchal will over you. What love is more perfected than that of the mother? To see you grow, to see you prosper, to see you safe, to see you happy, to see you fulfilled, secure, undefiled, clean, pure, innocent. But we have to want it for ourselves, and the inner child is the one who guides you to that. The inner child is not perverted. So all ways and all directions are right for you, depending on your intentions. And the inner child is the one who guides you through that. That's where your delight is, your status of righteousness. Where the conscience is clear in Pisces because of that. The status of righteousness. Not betraying the conscience. We learn from the Pisces Saturn transit what this could look like if we get carried away with Venus. Getting lost in escapism. Traps of our desires. Delays. Instant gratifications. Needing validation. Codependencies. Anything to cope and not deal with the due process that we know is calling us, which is part of the commands. Avoidance. One 1936, incline my heart into thy testimonies and not to covetousness. This presents two options here. Incline my heart to testimonies and not covetousness. Testimonies is incline my heart to accept that Saturn must be a part of my fulfillment of righteousness in any direction I should go. To betray Saturn while clinging to Venus, it inevitably ends in covetousness and the consequences of covetousness, which is spoil of the spirit. Idolatry, which is not to put a voodoo doll in front of you. It's to put false hope and belief and faith in what is futile. Because inevitably it is destructive because how you went about obtaining it. Eating stolen bread in secret. Inclining your heart to the testimony knows that if I'm to come from the matriarchal source and remain true to the inner child, remain true to my identity and the claim of the status that I have in heaven and who I really am, what is right, what is good, the clear conscience, the Saturnian route where everything that I do, I consider the due process that goes with it. If the karma is to be cleared in my course, it becomes a testimony. Because inevitably it has challenges ahead. Challenges that produces me, that forms me, that makes me, that births me. And that also authorizes me. That becomes testimony. And when it comes to testimony, you have a wisdom, You have a demonstration. You also have a witnessing of both truth and love. You also have an exposure of duality into the singularity of wisdom or love in all contexts of relationships and experiences, because you chose a route of testimony instead of covetousness. That is, you chose that your experiences would include a consciousness and awareness of the universal will over all things, that I am an agent of heaven, and I'm here to deliver what is expected of me from the matriarchal source and core. I'm to stick to that, and that determines my route according to my identity. I know what is for me and what is not according to my identity and my purpose. I accept all challenges in the route, all the smoke, all the feedback, good and the bad, the rejection, the wars, the fights, the struggles, the battles, the ups and downs, the scrapes, the bruises, the scars. And this becomes the testimony that not only fortifies my faith, my conviction, and my character, but transfers the same opportunity to others because I braved it. The end is promised to me. It is inevitable that I will be victorious in life and in death if I stick to it. So therefore, incline my heart to the testimony, because I want the route of the testimony, not the route of covetousness, which is to discard Saturn and run off with Venus. How many are doing that now? All of us are guilty of it. But hopefully we finally made our mind up that that's not going to be the story that we're going to write anymore. But we see how it has taken many over. Where the lights, the narrative, the glitter, the five senses, gratification, status, validation, it's all that matters, and everything has a price because of it. But not knowing the value of anything that will price it. I'm going to visit this point again in this discourse. But I really want us to give thought on this, and I would love your feedback as well. You know what I mean? What you get from it. What you're reminded of from it. You know. Let me benefit off of you too. Let's walk these dogs. The world's split now, and you're on your own. Understand that. You're on your own now. You know what I mean? You're going to have to be able to see through the deception. You're going to have to be able to see through the lies. You're going to have to know the difference. The discernment is yours. The games are not going to stop. The tricks are not going to stop. The circus show is never going to stop. It's always going to be the case. But it's elevating. Or the right word, it's escalating. And as it escalates, they who choose to select those falsehoods as their refuge, the idols of embodiments of narratives and lies that comfort them, that's who and what they are at the mercy of. But those who cling to truth are at the mercy of Allah, the matriarchal intent of this universe that operates in laws that comes from merciful source as a mother's intention over her child. Hopefully that's what you select. Hopefully that's what you choose. It's sealed now what world you are or what world you are not identified with. But the world split. You're going to see it every day more and more. The circus show, the clown shows, of how more and more Luciferic impulses, Luciferic light gets used to dupe the dummies, the NPCs, the people that choose not to use the power of their consciousness, the power of the brain, the power of intelligence, the power of critical thought, of independent thought, the ability to think for yourself, to reason. To dare go against the codependencies of being validated by other people, approved of by other people, being a part of the crowd that is popular. Those people are going to learn from themselves how to catch up beyond those illusions and layers of fears that keep them in that world. But where we're going from here is a Christ impulse. I'm going to take my time with this as I explain how that's the case. And what I want us to bring into imagination as I explain these things is that there is not a duality, but there's two pathways here. And it rides along the lines of experience, Sagittarius, 9th house. And what experience could mean for you depending on what you have selected. It could mean a testimony based on what you're rooted on. Or it could simply be the passing of time and what you have coveted and the consequences therein. And all of this pivots off of Venus. With all of this pivoting off of Venus, context appropriate for the time, South Node Virgo, number 9, working against the detriment of Venus. And I'm going to clarify how that's the case. The testimonies in hindsight of lunar realizations, the comfort of the moon's light, realizing that the matriarchal will was always active in our life, and we never had reason to doubt it. We never had reason to betray our inner child, or to abandon or betray the choice, the decision to do what was right. We never had a justification to do what we know we was empowered to do, in position to do, or had the power to do. As relates to integrity, it becomes testimony. Because it doesn't mean that you won't suffer things. It doesn't mean that you won't go through things doing the right thing. But it does mean that you will have a testimony. You will have a message that not only strengthens you, but strengthens others. Because the outcome will be victorious for you, even though you may have to go through some things to get that story. But you're strong on the other side of it. And that's what the testimony is about. Sticking to the matriarchal core through and through, no matter what. There's no wrong way to turn. There's no wrong direction as long as you are on that conviction. You can't make an error if that's where your conviction's coming from. The matriarchal source. As long as you're not betraying your conscience, you can't go the wrong way. And it doesn't mean you won't go through things. Understand that. Covetousness is different. Your reason, your intention for making a decision was for the fulfillment and gratification of your 5 senses. Justified by lies, deceit to yourself or to others. The fear of rejection, the fear of not being popular anymore, the fear of not being validated, the fear of not being accepted, the fear of not being associated or identified with who you think is up, who you think is ahead, who you think's popular. Many people sell their souls. The rich, the poor, the big and the small, for validation. Look at Nicki Minaj. I said I wouldn't get into that, and I'm not. But I might circle back around and get into that. There's a lot I want to say about that, but I think I'm gonna make that a separate occasion. It's a lot to talk about with that. And y'all niggas out there gonna learn to stop falling for the okie doke, to stop falling for the bullshit, the glitter, the lights. Oh, Nikki, oh, she clocking it. Oh, Nikki, oh, girl, you clock. Oh, that's right, for Jesus Christ. Yeah, Christ is Lord. You gonna learn. You gonna learn to have a fucking brain. And you're gonna learn how this whole thing works with black women. How black women's natural forces are farmed, harvested, used for very dark agendas. And they become useful idiots. Time and time again, black women volunteer to be useful idiots, doing more harm than good. Because secretly the intention is Venus all along and not Cancer. It's Venus and not Cancer. When your reason is Cancer, you can't miss. You can't be used. You can't get played. You can't be somebody's useful idiot because your inner child won't let you. That lunar conviction will come through and let you know that. But when your reason is Venus, I want attention, I want validation, I want status, I want achievement, I want merit, I want this, I want that. Look at me, look at me. Grin, 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 smile, 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 laugh, 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 it's a joke. Laughing emoji, clock that, T. You become the airhead that's lying to yourself and lying to everybody else, and you're the useful idiot as you do it. And your power gets used in ways that you didn't even have the ability to use it for yourself because you're not even aware of your own power. You're a useful idiot. Doing more damage than good. Why you think you're doing good? Because you lied to yourself to convince yourself that you're doing good in order to justify yourself to have something that you know ain't good, but you're stealing it. I know a lot of y'all fell for that. But anyway, back on business, you heard? Back on business, you heard? Let's get to it, son.
And the people around you seem to be like always in danger. You know, you could be killed as you walked out of here, because this happened to a lot of people in the Black Panthers and all the black movements. And like, can you be sure that your movement, are you strong enough now, you know, that are you going to go on? Is the Black Panthers, if you are killed, will the breakfast program go on just on a day-to-day type level?
Well, last year we started 3 Breakfast for Children program. And this year we gave those 3 to the people, and they're running those Breakfast for Children already.
And the people are.
Right. And our whole program is geared toward educating the mass of the people. And that free health clinic that we have, the people in the community are going to run that clinic. And after a while, we're going to give them that clinic, and we're going to move on to higher levels. Because we understand the difference between the vanguard and the people. We're not going to practice imperialism. We're going to keep out there setting up some new examples, some new revolutionary programs that the people can basically relate to, because basically people are progressive and basically people are revolutionary. We're not worried about them killing anybody, because I think that, they jailed Huey P. Newton, and they ran Cleve out the country, Elvis Cleve out the country, and they jailed Bobby Seale, and we got David Head up there now, who's are very capable, most capable of running the Black Panther Party, and they can just take all of them they want to. We're always going to have someone to fulfill that position, because that's the type of organization the Black Panther Party is. We don't produce buffoons, we produce leaders. But everybody in the Black Panther Party, on any type of cadre, he's becoming a leader. We can, our minister, Deputy Minister of Health in the state of Illinois, can run the Black Panther Party, and so can anybody on this cadre. So all that they're involved in is an excursion in futility, because anybody that tries to deal with wiping out the leadership of the Black Panther Party is dealing with a time wasting. It's a futile effort to seize some type of power that can never be seized, because it's a type of flowing power, and it's a type of unending flow of this power. Every time somebody moves, we're just producing more and more people, you know. And you know how the story goes. They, you know, they had a chance. Wiping out power is what's got them in the mess they're in now. Wiping out power is that's what's got the Black Panther Party on their asses, you know, because they wiped out so much power. So I think they're about tired of wiping out power.
We want to get a perspective of what we've been going through, what we've been experiencing. And essentially, it's controlled chaos that makes the difference between the strength trainer and the athlete. Understand that. We're not strength training because we're not meant to walk a straight line in a single pattern, because Pluto is now in Aquarius, out of bounds. So we have to anticipate diversity in patterns and directions that we may have to go. Approaches, means, and strategies that we may have to adapt and adjust to. So for that reason, we're under the training of an athlete, not a strength trainer. The strength training is you're doing the same thing every day. You go work at the post office, or you go do what you do on your job. Yeah, you go lift weights, you hit the treadmill, great. Live long. But you out here, you know, you gonna be a boxer, you gonna be a ball player, dancer, I don't know, whatever, okay? Athletics. You have to shock your body. You have to introduce your body to diversity of ranges and chaos, so that your body can adjust, and so that the body has its own intelligence, not just the mind. The body has to have its own intelligence. The central nervous system. All of your wiring. It has to accommodate. It has to provide for the external possibilities. This is psychologically, as Saturn passed through Pisces, this is what we were getting. Controlled chaos. Exercising the emotions for that range of possibility and adaptability, as Pluto is out of bounds. Understand that. Therefore, we need athletic training. Psychologically. Military training psychologically. You know, they're going to shoot some guns in the air. They're going to throw some smoke bombs. They're going to shoot off some artillery. You know, get your nervous system conditioned for the environment, so you're not out there panicking and pissing on yourself, so that you're comfortable in the environment, so you can calm the fuck down and focus. Sagittarius introduces intelligence to the body. Pisces was introducing intelligence to the consciousness, and both through Jupiter. But Jupiter is reading so that that intelligence is founded upon the matriarchal conviction and core, which is what allows us to align with the will of God in universe, which the will of Allah, or the image of Allah, is that of the mother. The will and intent of the mother. And no love is more perfected than that of the mother. So through Sagittarius, this intelligence to the body comes through the experiences. And as I explain this, I want you to open your mind, because I'm going to take my time with the breakdown. question, comment, concern, different things like that, always welcome. Make sure you get backstage with me to get your personal reading or inquiry so you can have your own notes on what this means for you. So you can have a spill on you. Not just coming on here trying to fish it out, scratching your head, all that other stuff. No, you need to know for you personally. Understand? Psalms 119, right? 36. Incline my heart into thy testimonies and not to covetousness. Incline my heart into thy testimonies and not to covetousness. All right, check it out, Don. Experience is experience. Sagittarius. This stellium is transferring right now. Experience. In hindsight, based on experience, ninth house, what is the philosophical conviction that you hold now as a witness? And as a witness, there are two directions that we could go with those Sagittarius themes of freedom, expansiveness, and truth, the claim of who we are. One direction is the matriarchal conviction that we found a commitment to. Cancer, expanded by Jupiter currently. That makes testimony of experience. The other direction is to be misled by Venus against the South Node, number 9 vibration Virgo, Hermit card, concentration that we are subject to, which preserves us from the detriment of Venus, which makes experience covetousness instead of testimony. Covetousness through Venus is that I am misled by that which I desire. I am also deceived by that which impresses me. Consumed by my own senses. Enslaved and bonded by my own desires. Number 9 South Node Virgo is a grace that preserves us from that outcome if we don't resist that opportunity. So there's only one direction that experience can go to once we are saved from the South Node number 9 detriment of Venus, where experience then becomes covetousness, where freedom becomes covetousness, where access to that which we desire becomes covetousness. It can only go one other direction from there. And that's Cancer, matriarchal source, lunar force, matriarchal source, and that's what makes it testimony. Because of the root, the grounded conviction that comes from knowing what my source is in spirit. Matriarchal conviction, honoring my conscience, where the Lord expresses his or her voice. Through thresholds, limitations, demands, expectations of inner child, which informs my own security, expressed as righteousness. Experience then becomes testimony, because in staying in honor of or respect to the consciousness, well, the conscience, matriarchal source Cancer, your experience becomes testimony over and over, because the laws of this universe are meant to serve you when you are in that position, conviction, or vibration. And your freedom then does not exploit you. It testifies for you. Truth does not expose you. It confirms you. Expansiveness does not pervert you. It establishes you. That's the difference. Where we are founded and rooted in the identity. South Node Libra, Capricorn Pluto transit, exit. The shadow work was from those graveyards. And the Sagittarius stellium showed us that we either have a testimony or we have a warrant for what we coveted. It's one of the two. Let me remind you, Psalms 119, 36. Incline my heart unto thy testimonies, and not to covetousness. Testimonies, and not to covetousness. This is only through experience. Experience of our freedom, expansiveness, and claim of truth or conviction of who we are. We become a witness for ourselves or against ourselves based on that. You want the testimony through experience, not the consequences of covetousness. And covetousness leads us back to where? Pisces. Pisces crisis, Pisces trials, Pisces suffering, Pisces guilt, Pisces fear. Pisces contemplation of what we know is calibrated in the laws of this universe to come back and warrant us. Warrant us for violations. That's what we are supposed to learn from Saturn, passing through Pisces. Pisces is the end where that takes place. And if I go to Psalms 119:33, teach me, O Lord, the way of thy statutes, and I shall keep it unto the end. Pisces. Understand that. Unto the end. Pisces. Because ultimately this is where it all ends. It adds to the density of the underbody of the iceberg, of your subconscious floating in the icy currents, the deep icy currents that are unintelligible. A deep, heavy, massive, dense driving force of all that we do, think, and say and feel. Calibrated from how we relate it with our Venus impulse as Venus has its superiority in Pisces. And that goes for the good and the bad of our handling of Venus impulse. She's exalted in Pisces. And because she's exalted in Pisces, the end will always get you when it comes to Venus. The end. There's a lot to extract from that. That experience in and of itself is neutral. We experience what is measured, tailor-made to our own energy, our own thoughts, our own beliefs, and that which directly reflects a karmic signature when we got here in the first place. Testimonies are points of reflection. They are lunar. Testimonies help you to see the patterns and connect it with divine meaning, value, wisdom, understanding. That becomes a comforting light, not just for you, but for those who witness through hearing or through seeing what you have passed through. That's part of the expansive, fiery nature of Sagittarius and its conviction that spreads. Sagittarius is full of testimony, full of stories, narrations. There are many stories to be told when it comes to Sagittarius energy. The experiences behind you, 9th house. If you look at your 9th house, it's supposed to be a source of your testimonies, not a recollection of suffering that you created for yourself based on what you coveted. The guilt that comes with it, the shame that comes with it, the fears that come with it. Why? Because of beholding vanities and your perception of what you're passing through, rather than keeping sight on what meaning is to be held in what you're passing through. And that meaning reflecting who you are as a claim of status of the self, status from heaven. You came here with it. The heart soul urge, the life path, and remembering that every bit of it is for heaven. It's for the greater good. It's for truth and then love. Not love and then truth. It's for truth and then love, because truth is the qualifier of love. If you don't know truth, love don't know you. And only children can see truth without war and violence. Understand that. So cowards don't get to know love. Psalm 119, right? Check it out. You start at 33 again. Teach me, O Lord, and when I say, O Lord, right? This is your higher consciousness that makes you aware of the divine presence and status of the self that is inclined to that which is good, true, and right. A guiding compass that gives you conviction and direction when there are options, choices, more than one pathway, while you maintain a responsibility, a duty to a life path or a claim of identity that you must remain consistent with. Teach me, O Lord, the way of thy statutes, and I shall keep it unto the end. We talked about that. Give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart. Give me understanding. This generates at the 8th house, expands at the 9th house as philosophy, and 10th house it is embodied as a character. Understanding. But the understanding, as I mentioned, beginning with the 8th house, it starts with Scorpio forces. Your ability to process power struggles on intimate levels, vulnerabilities, matters of integrity, testing the thresholds of your honesty and truth, transparency, stripping you of all superficiality, masks, coverings, hiding places, coming clean, being entirely naked in who you are. Standing at the sensitivities of trust, mutual trust, where it's not just you, but there's a witness. Understanding begins when there's a witness. There has to be a witness. Either a person is a witness, a circumstance is a witness, or an institution is a witness to who you claim you are. And the person, the circumstance, or the institution, it holds power to your claim of power, status to your claim of status, authority to your claim of authority, identity to your claim of identity, charge to your claim of charge, truth to your claim of truth, right to your claim of right. It's a place where you are reflected. And power is always present there at that 8th house, because you're only at the 8th house because it gives you access to an expansion of your own 2nd house. Otherwise, you would have never bothered with it. Rather it be expansion of your self-esteem, your finances, your sense of values, your status. the support that you want to feel behind you, you're there for a reason to consume something or someone. And if it is covetousness, you will be exposed by your own self through the witness of the person, the circumstance, or the institution. But if you remain convicted in the matriarchal core identity of the self, which is Cancer, your inner child will never lead you astray in what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. We all have that moral compass that we champion as the crown of our head. And in doing so, we always come out true. We always find victory in the 8th house, which is not to dominate or overpower others, to control others, to step foot on others' neck, to subdue others into a chokehold, but to manifest unity and oneness from the 8th house, minimizing struggle, offense, distrust, animosity, fear, resent, vengeance. It takes wisdom. And only the authentic can pull it off without resorting to Machiavellian means. And that becomes a testimony of what it took, what you endured, what you experienced, what you survived in order to pull that off, because it is not for the weak. To do the right thing, while someone else or something else is not reciprocating the right thing. To be honest while others are being dishonest. To be true while others are untruthful. To maintain virtue while others don't. Integrity while others don't. Trustworthiness while others don't. In other words, to not stray from, violate, dishonor, lose sight of the matriarchal source as crown of head, as Lord, the conscience, Mother Matriarch, Cancer. To not betray her. It leads to a testimony, because it is guaranteed that you will prevail the outcome, that in the end you will own the end. Victory will be yours as long as you don't give up in that spirit. It is promised. And that becomes testimony. As you narrate that story, it teaches, it re-explains, it clarifies how the mysterious laws of this universe moves and operates in our favor, if we should make up our mind in who we are. The other half of that is accountability. Teach me, O Lord, the way of thy statutes. Accountability. And I shall keep it until the end. Pisces. Accountability. Keeping it until the end. Not starting off like that. And then when things get difficult, I'ma slip accountability. I'ma dip off and do this, and I'ma dip off and do that. I'ma get shiesty. I'ma get dirty. I'ma get down low. There's no testimony in that. Because you violated. You violated, so there's no testimony. There's testimony when you don't violate, when you're steadfast, when you're consistent, when you go all the way through to the end. That's when you have the testimony. And we know that's through Saturn. Accountability. And when we take accountability, realize to us through our karmic phases, our karmic cycles, our karmic lessons, our Saturn transits, our Saturnian aspects that we embrace and not run from, that we meditate on and find receptivity to and not rejection of. We become one with it. We embody it. And what does that mean? We characterize it. And in that balance of that accountability and moral conviction, we characterize freedom. And when we characterize freedom, we are characterizing the Christ impulse. We are being the Christ impulse. Sent from the what? The Lord. Which is the consciousness, Jupiterian expansive understanding of the crown, clarified through Cancer, the lunar conviction of the gut. This is a oneness in the bodies of the self, the multiplicities of the self in oneness, not fractured in the self. The self that is whole. I hope we got this as we were passing through Scorpio, Stellium, Sagittarius, Stellium. I hope we were getting this. Make me to go in the path of thy commandments, for therein do I delight. Make me to go in the path of thy commandments, for therein do I delight. Incline my heart into thy testimonies and not to covetousness. Testimonies and not to covetousness. Turn my eyes away from beholding vanity and quicken thou me in thy way. That's the point right there. Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity. Luciferic impulse, which is beneficial, but without aspect to Saturn, Pluto, Moon, is detrimental. Venus alone is detrimental. It's no different than a drug, your favorite drug. It's just like meaningless sex, pleasure, enjoyment. When it's meaningless, it spoils the body. It spoils the spirit. It spoils the mind. It corrupts us when it's meaningless. You just out here screwing. You just out here indulging in everything that tastes good, everything that feels good. You're aimless. YOLO, you only live once. The ass girl, clock that girl, society. brainless and dizzy. You don't even know why you're breathing every day. Life don't mean a damn thing but what you can feel. I want to feel something just for the sake of feeling. It's covetousness when it's meaningless. And your life is meaningless when you don't have clarity and identity, when you don't have claim of status, when you don't have status correction after being lost out there. It's all meaningless. These meaningless things, it ruins us. We have to admit. When it don't mean nothing, it ruins us. It corrupts us. And what becomes the end of that? Pisces. You're bogged down with all kind of bull crap in your subconscious that's not good, that's not healthy, and it controls you more than you're able to be aware of. Your subconscious controls you more than anything. Turn my eyes away from beholding vanity. It doesn't mean that you remove vanities from your eyesight. It means that you're changing the way that you comprehend that which you see, because your identity is filtering through that which you see. The understanding of who you are is filtered through that which you see. And it changes your perspective about everything. And it changes your perspective about what is good for you and what's not good for you. What's good for you to hear, what's good for you to see, what's good for you to do, what's healthy for you, what's right for you. It changes everything. It changes your whole perception because of your identity, knowing who you are. Knowing who certain others are out here in this world, running lost, dizzy, running into walls, bumping into each other. I pray for their guidance. I really hope that they will see understanding soon. I really hope and I pray that I will not be misled that way, because I see they are bumping into walls. They're bumping into each other. It's a lot of confusion out here. Y'all see the headlines all the time. You know what I mean? I'm going to gravitate away from those subject matters because, we're in a different world now. And we're in a world where the worlds have separated. And it's very clear to see that there has been a massive separation. Because there's a separation, now the solidification of forms is going to take place on what those worlds consist of. And the worlds where they selected lack of conscious, it's going to start to take form. It's going to start to take shape. And it's not going to be the forms and shapes of things that are very flattering. It deserves compassion, it really does. It deserves empathy, sympathy, it really does. It deserves it. But it's going to be very clear that the majority is in a world where they're in a movie theater that they don't even realize they're in. They're watching a movie that they think is real. And they help each other to be more and more lost in that world. They mislead each other in being more lost in that world. And so the best thing is to turn the full focus to where you see life is moving and evolving and growing, because they're not of that world. There's an ayah or chapter in Quran. It's called Ayatul Kursi. And Ayatul Kursi, it talks about this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, which means, anyway, I'll say it as Allah said it. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahu la ilaha illahu wal hayyul qayyum. La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Man dhal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi idhnihi. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم والله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا وأولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون صدق الله العظيم. So, in translation, Allah, there is no God worthy of worship except Him, which is the unifying consciousness founded in compassion and matriarchal intent in this world. The universal laws that works together in wisdom founded upon matriarchal intent. That is Allah. Understand? There's no need to pervert who Allah is or who Lord is when you read in the Bible. There's no mysteries of, oh, it's a Christian God, it's a Muslim God. It's divisive, it's division, and that is what is satanic. What is satanic is divisive and dividing. And there's no need to divide or be divisive with it, because it is one. Understand that. So anyway, Allah, there is no God worthy of worship except Him, the ever-living, all-sustaining. Neither drowsiness nor sleep overtakes Him. To Him belongs whatever's in the heavens and whatever's on the earth. Who could possibly intercede with Him except His permission? He fully knows what is ahead of them and what is behind them. But no one can grasp any of His knowledge except what He wills to reveal. His seat encompasses the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of both does not tire Him. For He is the Most High, the greatest. Let there be no compulsion in religion, for the truth stands out clear from falsehood. So whoever renounces false gods and believes in Allah has certainly grasped the firmest, unfailing handhold, and Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. Allah is the guardian of the believers. He brings them out of darknesses into light, singularity. As for the disbelievers, the guardians are the false gods who lead them out of the light in the darkness. It is they who will be the residents of the fire. They will be there forever. So, when it said gods, false gods, this is to deliberately choose falsehoods against truths based on your luciferic connection or conviction, which is that covetousness in what you perceive or sense. So because you have a preference for what you want to feel versus the truth that you are to witness, you made a choice. And the choice against the truth becomes a false god or idol. So in other words, I can see that game is being ran, from higher places. And they pull a celebrity out who looks really pretty and dazzling and got all kind of sparkles. I know what the truth is. But because I'm so impressed by the celebrity and the beauty and the lights and all the fancy things, and everybody in the crowd is saying this, and everybody in the crowd is saying that, I go with the Luciferic Venus vanity. Remember that word earlier when I said that? I go with the, where is it at? Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity, and quicken thou me in thy way. I resort to that part, and being so impressed by the Luciferic light, the fool's gold, the imitation of the light of the sun. I get impressed by that light instead of confirming and witnessing or testifying to the true light that is present, which is the truth, which though less impressive in first glance, in weight of what is superficial, I side with the false god instead. And the false god is that Luciferic commitment that you take against the truth, in contradiction to the truth while you know the truth. That's that is a false god. That is a false idol. That's what that is. And as I read to you, Allah is the guide to those who believe. Because this is something that has to be connected to the clarity and consciousness through Pisces. That you have a clear conscience enough to even be able to do that. Those who believe. Your belief is affected by codependency. Your belief is contaminated by codependencies, if you should entertain codependencies. I don't want people to dislike me. I don't want people to disown me or reject me. I want to be popular. I want to be with the in crowd. I want to be down with who's popular, who's running, who's got the name, who's got the light, who got the glitter, who got all the followings. I want to be down with all of that. So I'm going to toss the truth aside, what I know and what I believe, what I see, what I have testified to. I'm going to throw my testimony away and go to coveting instead of maintaining a testimony. That's what I'm going to do. And that's when it becomes a problem. And it's not only harmful for you, it's harmful for society. It's harmful to the world. Because that is exactly how principalities and high places are able to maintain power and control and leverage over us, the people. Because of that behavior right there. And that manifests self-entrapment, self-enslavement. Kanye wasn't lying when he said slavery was a choice. Kanye got the last laugh on niggas. But anyway, I don't want to get too preachy with all that. You know, let's look back at the stellium that's passing Pholus in Capricorn. Pholus, it's bringing tower moments that are strategic, that are precise, and it's causing an environment of controlled chaos when it's paired to your impulses. Okay? It manifests an exercise of controlled chaos. There are two places where we have this exercise of controlled chaos, in Pisces and in Capricorn. In Pisces through Saturn, we've been dealing with controlled chaos. That's where the Capricorn effect goes into Pisces, where Pisces is already a place where chaos is the essence of its presence. There's no order to submit to. There's no law to submit to. It is universality unity, it is essence, it is spirit. It is not yet subject to laws of order or physics or form. It precedes form and it exceeds form. Understand that. And so, Capricorn with Pholus, it produces the same outcome as with Pisces. Instead of it being in the conscious or subconscious where this controlled chaos, where Saturn presents the attempt for control in the midst of Pisces chaos, that is emotional chaos. Through provocative circumstances or illusions of fear, threat, shame, guilt, okay? Anticipation of consequence, karma, all right? So on and so forth. Through Capricorn, it manifests within the physical realm or reality of what we have placed our sense of control, expectation, or timeline consistency upon. Okay? It's where in the time continuum we have established a particular order, a framework, a system that we regulate. It is the system that we regulate to make success of our chart. Capricorn in your natal birth chart is strategically located in the house that it needs to be in order to manifest your identity. That is the house that you must systematize, regulate, and operate under math, order, strict regulation, discipline, obedience, temperance, and consistency. Otherwise, your entire chart is spoiled. Understand that. So, with Pholus transiting Capricorn, it's shaking up this order because it has to recalibrate how you are to arrive at the new order that forms the new person that was rebirthed and resurrected. Understand? Because we're at the rebirth and resurrection, as I remind you again. All right? And I'll say it again. Rebirth through what? Virgo. Number 9. Hermit card process against the detriment of Venus South Node. Currently on the way to close this transit. The resurrection through Scorpio stellium. Shadow work of the water trine. Bringing in 2026. Right? Okay. So, Pholus is bringing specific chaos because it's loosening parts that are going to have to be repurposed according to the new value that's realized, or the new intent that is realized with the reclaim of the status. With the status correction of the self must also go the systematic correction of the self. You can't correct the status of the self without also correcting the systematic operation of the self, the systematic order of the self as well. This equally takes effect to the 10th house for all of us universally, Pholus. This means a new character is being formed through controlled chaos that arrives at a character that is resilient, flexible, innovative. It's just like, for example, it's a difference between a weight trainer, a person who goes to the gym to strength train. You go in there, you throw up the steel, you lift weights, you jog a little bit, you go home. But an athlete is different. An athlete can't work out like that. You got to train different. It's like when I was in boxing, the boxing coach told me, right? First thing he told me, he said, first thing I'm going to tell you, lay off the weights. Stop lifting weights. Stop lifting weights. I thought that would help, you know. Nah, listen to me. I'm the coach. Stop lifting weights. He wanted to emphasize on the central nervous system, the fast twitch muscles, muscle memory. Being sure that the small muscle groups are supporting the large muscle groups. Teaching the body faster recovery, shock, energy absorption, taking impacts as much as getting, giving impact. Just like football practice. Mixed martial arts. All that. The jump roping. Footwork. Your breathing. Many people wouldn't believe you could be really good on a treadmill or jogging around the block. You think you got a good set of lungs, but try to grapple for 3 minutes with a grown-ass man. Try to hit a heavy bag for 3 minutes straight. You know? And so you have to give your body chaos in a controlled environment. And the controlled environment is the intent for a new order. Okay? The intent for a new order. The intent for the new order is realized by both the matriarchal expansion of Jupiter, which is a lunar expression that informs Capricorn naturally, because Capricorn patriarchal infrastructure is directly informed by matriarchal essence. Okay? That's what lets us know what the shell should consist of for the crab. Cancer is the fleshy core of that crab. Capricorn is the hard carapace shell of the crab. The shell means nothing if it's not serving the direct purpose to preserve, protect the integrity of the soft, fleshy core of the matriarchal essence. Okay? So anyway, you're giving your body chaotic shock in variety because you're teaching your body that it has to withstand unpredictable, unforeseen, unexpected, unanticipated events, crisis, tower moments. So Pholus it's a trainer, okay? It's like sending your body to a trainer as an athlete rather than a strength trainer, okay? Saturn is more of a strength trainer, but Pholus is more like, an athletic, a specialist, okay? That wants to make sure that you have a chaotic control applied to the body. The body needs a variety of chaos so that we know it's fortified against the conditions of the sport. It's fortified against the conditions of the sport. A football player's body, a boxer's body, a hockey player's body, a gymnast, the girls that be flipping all up on, you know what I'm saying, all them fucking beams and shit, their bodies are like, they're fortified to a different level. That the average man walking around just, it's going to take you years to catch up to them. To be conditioned to what they walking with. Understand that. It's going to take years. But that chaos applied to the body constantly, running those drills. You hitting the bags. Okay, sprint. Let me see you chop. Okay, break right and break left. Now your timing's off. You need to go a little faster, a little sharper. You out here breaking ankles and pulling ACLs and everything else to get your body condition right. And that's what's happening to us. With Pholus going through Capricorn, that's what's happening to what we have had our sense of security in. In the infrastructure of our life, is chaos has been deliberately applied, and that gets forwarded to what? Aquarius. Aquarius is the embodiment of the innovative status of the self. Because when you have the pro athlete, the body of the pro athlete, that's Aquarius. The vascularity, the innovative capabilities of what that body can do under pressure, under stress, under unpredictable circumstances. That's Aquarius all day, because every sign forwards the results to the next sign. What is you talking about? Capricorn forwards its results to Aquarius. So its innovative opportunity from chaotic tower moments in the infrastructure of our life in areas of our life where we have due process, long-term plans, long-term strategies, and chaos is constantly coming at everything that we have expressed through Capricorn. Okay, which includes where we've had agreements, long-term plans, long-term strategies, the way that we've been used to doing it, and it don't work that way no more. The way that it used to work, but it don't work no more. The way that it used to be easy to just, hit this formula, and every time it works like that, nope, pops, it don't work that way no more. We in a new day. This ain't 1986. You ain't in the 80s no more. We've outlived that. And it's the ankle breaker. You know what I'm saying? We getting broken ankles because we running these drills and our bodies have not been used to it. The body, the form, Capricorn, okay, form. Think about form, infrastructure. The structure can't handle the diversity of chaotic influxes that are coming at us. And Pholus is getting us conditioned to withstand the diversity of chaotic influxes that will continue to come at us and even accelerate as time goes on, because remember that we're coming out of earth and water and we're going into air and fire. That means time is going to accelerate. Events are going to be much faster. Things are going to be much more demanding, impulsive. Right now, hurry up, get it, go. It's fast, go. So our nervous system has to be rewired. It has to be shaken up and exposed. It has to be pushed to the limit. Our sensory perception. our instincts, our reflexes. All of that has to be tested to the max. Otherwise, we're not going to have a muscle memory. We're not going to be able to trust our instincts as the chaos continues. Because we cannot innovate or create without chaos. Chaos is the material for new forms and creations. It's from whence the material comes from, chaos. We are at a point in this life where we are extracting straight from Pisces, the imagination, the eternal, the essence, from spirit. We are bringing in that which has never come in before. And we are going to have to trust ourselves to the max to be able to rise to that image and status, that claim of status of the self, the divine self. The true and living man and woman who is the Christ impulse, embodying wisdom. So, as Mars conjuncts Pholus, it's going to change the patterns of your strategic orders, your daily formula and daily operations. And what initiatives you take and how you assert your strategic patterns, your strategic timelines, your strategic formulas that makes your day operate efficiently and effectively. You're going to be made to change that pattern to reflect a more Uranus eccentric diversity rather than the limitations of Mars. This is what's going to happen, okay? Because Uranus ultimately is the one who changes the pattern of Mars in the first place, even though Mars directly is going to have a change with Pholus and how we relate to our actions and assert our will when it comes to long-term projects, when it comes to what we assume of our ambitions and the willpower that we put behind our long-term projects. I mean, this is a hell of a force. It's not to underestimate. Mars in Capricorn can build a Taj Mahal all by itself. Mars in Capricorn ain't bullshitting. This is, I will get this done, and I will sit in this room with my sleeves rolled up, a pack of cigarettes, and a stack of papers, and I will finish 30 boxes of papers overnight. Like you're gonna get it done. You're gonna lay all these bricks by yourself, even if it breaks your fingers to do it. You're gonna do it. That's a hell of an ambitious impulse right there. Capricorn, Mars. But when we add Pholus, it means that disruptions will come, interruptions will come, tower moments will come that will demand of Mars to change the patterns that it is already used to in order to have a more diverse range in how it approaches long-term goals and opportunities. You're running plays that you're not used to. The coach got new plays to run. So we're going to be drawing a lot off of the Uranus expression when it comes to Mars things. Understand that. Getting unorthodox, stepping outside the box. Fuck what you used to. When the sun passes Pholus, we got the same thing with our identity. Understand that? So, the long-term intentions that you have for your identity, the aspirations that you have in your identity, you're going to realize more innovative ideals, concepts when it comes to Pholus adjusting the sun. Notice that all of these adjustments are going to be forwarded to Uranus because Uranus is the one that intercepts disruptions of patterns in your life and tells you what to do with those disruptions of patterns. Uranus tells you what to do. The reason is because Uranus is the one that keeps you true to who you are, authentic to who you are, consistent with your soul's journey intent. And all of this is in hindsight to Taurus, which is downloading your value system of the inner planets. It's a recalibration of the value system to match individually for every planet. Inner planet. So Mars, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, and Juno, the expression of your commitments, they all will be recalibrated personally, not a sweeping one fits all. No, every impulse of the inner planets as they cross Pholus, they will receive marching orders from Uranus on how to innovate their expressions and intentions and operations under applied chaotic control so that they have access to a range of innovative interceptive feedback to the journey ahead. And what that does is it causes you to embody from the personal planets and the identity and Aquarius status of the inner nature of the self. And what does that make you? It makes you the Christ impulse to embody wisdom, which is range of awareness and possibility. You're teaching all of your bodies to adapt to an innovative and eccentric algorithm of Uranus through Taurus, which is what is the most stable range of possibility that I can reach for in the expression of this particular impulse according to the dismantle of Pholus in my patterns to infrastructure. It's like the evolution of a species. We are literally, it's literally an evolution of the species of man and woman. We are at a point of evolution. Taurus is the body. Like physically. The wiring that goes to the body. From the cerebral down through the spine. That's Taurus. And that's what you want to train in chaotic control. Or control chaos. When you're training an athlete versus a person who's strength training. So we are being trained as these spiritual athletes, these super athletes in a spiritual sense, in a conscious sense. So we can hit the field in confidence and competence and clarity and not in fear and hysteria when a bomb starts going off or when the ball starts getting thrown. When the whistle blows and it's time to hit the play, you nervous, you unprepared, you don't know what to do, you scared because you haven't been practicing. You haven't been doing the drills. You haven't been going through the hell in the gym. So the confidence is not there. Y'all niggas remember how Tyson used to look when he used to come out to fight? That nigga looked like he literally, just like he said, he looked like he really would eat your fucking kids. This nigga was a monster. But when you see how he trained prior to the fight, you see where all that confidence comes from. It's the same with you. It's the same with me right now with these transits. In controlled chaos, it's developing a superior athlete. You are a superior athlete that's being developed. Understand that? I think we get that point. So anyway, now that we get that point, remember that Venus and Juno is going to have the same transit. Let's not leave that out. And crossing over, Pholus. So, not only with the personal planets and how we relate to self, which really emphasizes more so Mars and the Sun, okay? But Venus and Juno, that brings also how we relate to relationships and the experiences that we desire to have and the commitments that we identify with. It's also going to be subject to Pholus, and what that's going to do is going to teach us to also be innovative, diverse, and how we relate to relationship concepts. And I've been talking to y'all about relationship concepts that I know some of y'all just reject as soon as you hear it. You know, I get it. You know what I mean? I'm not here to force feed nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I know it's a lot of things that I told you the first time that you didn't understand, that you are going to understand if a little more time passes by. Believe me, you are going to understand why I said the things that I've been saying. You will understand, believe me. So I ain't even got to keep going over all that. But anyway, what I'm saying is, the way that you used to relate to relationships, the way that you used to conceptualize what relationships means, especially from these monogamous ideals and what that should entail. Who should take care of who, 50-50 relationships, and is he supposed to pay this, is she supposed to do this, is he supposed to do that, she supposed to do. It's all kind of, stuff being talked about out there. You know what I mean? But what Pholus is going to do is, Pholus is going to adjust according to your personal Uranus expression. What is the most stable value in relationships status to consider, or opportunities to consider, along a line of diverse options and opportunities, or ways that it could play out, which leads to innovative awareness from a relationship standpoint that does not contradict your values. You see what I'm saying? So relationships are going to take an innovative spin without it contradicting your values, as long as you are grounded, founded, and rooted in your matriarchal source and foundation, which is Cancer. Understand that, okay? That's where everything is founded on. Know what I mean? If you don't got that, you don't got nothing. You just out here willy-nilly. You just, you know what I'm saying? You just floating around, taste testing around Costco. You know what I'm saying? Eat some fucking food. You just walking around Costco taste testing. You know what I mean? You don't even know why. You know what I'm saying? And so, Venus and Juno with Pholus, it's going to change up what you have solidified for yourself that relationships are supposed to mean to you. And you're going to realize that you can't go forward with these limited ideals that you once held about relationships, or about yourself from the perspective of relationships, or finances as well, and what it is that you're loyal to or committed to in these ideals. So collectively, we're going to get a lot of feedback that's going to run around, the internet world or society in and of itself, where you're going to hear a lot in the ethereal of people giving feedback on these things. And it's going to inform the culture that there are many ways to show up to receive what it is that we uniquely need or want into our life that makes our life meaningful or fulfilling. So we're expanding and creating the diversity that we need. We're expanding and creating the innovative range that we need. And everything that we're doing right now is preparing us for who we're going to be when the stellium passes through Aquarius. And especially who we will continue to be as we transform through Pluto's transit through Aquarius, which remains. Understand that. So we're adapting to an Aquarian nature in of ourselves. And notice what we're going to lose most is the rigid nature. We're going to lose the closed-mindedness, the dogmatic views. And we're going to come out of a lot of the traditional limitations that were brainlessly agreed to or conceptualized with without thought, without wisdom, or without intent. Because Pholus makes sure that everything that we're doing, it has a purpose, it has a reason, it has a function. It tears everything apart, and it has you to use, the leg of a chair along with, a handlebar from a bicycle or whatever else. You're putting together all kind of shit from a torn down structure to reform something else out of it. So you're gonna become aware of the value of things in order to reinterpret the order of things. It's just like Jay-Z said in one of his lyrics where he said, "Y'all niggas know the price of everything but the value of nothing." I mean, that's a heavy ass bar right there. Niggas know the price of everything but the value of nothing. You know what I'm saying? So we coming back to that. And what Pholus does is it breaks things down so that we're not anticipating the price of things, but we're looking at the value of everything. And when you look at the value of everything, you have to consider the usage, the benefit, the quality of what you have and what is possible. What is the range of possibility with this, with the substance, entity or commodity. You see what I'm saying? And you starting there with the actual value of things. So we're learning to now look at the value of things so that we can reconfigure what should be the form and order or concept of things. And that's part of the innovative spirit in and of itself. You know what I mean? So hopefully I'm not all over the place with all of this. But as all of this takes place simultaneously, we also got Black Moon Lilith passing through Sagittarius. You know what I mean? And Black Moon Lilith already, making its debut with Sagittarius, it's going to be a real shake-up in beliefs. Of course, initiated by this Pholus, and the fact that the planets closest to you, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, you know what I mean, Juno, they are passing through Pholus, which is very personal to you. And it kicks off that awareness of the fact that Black Moon Lilith is challenging us to become more accepting and embracing of our liberty to crystallize our own philosophies, and not to do so dogmatically, but to remain open-minded, to see the benefit in unforeseen, unanticipated, or unexpected events that are meant to inform us, expand us, enlighten us. Just as I read earlier, become a testimony and not just a crisis in what we coveted. Become a testimony. It becomes a testimony when we understand there's a will behind the operation of the laws of this universe. And that will is matriarchal. And if the will is matriarchal, the will is just like my mother. She's operating in my best interest. She wants no harm for me. She wants me to live, and she wants me to live long. She wants me to be healthy. She wants me to be a good person. She doesn't want me to do bad things or say bad things. She wants me to mean well for my brother or mean well for my sister. That's the motherly nature of the universal laws of Allah or God. Matriarchal. And in understanding that, every experience becomes a testimony of where we stand with that matriarchal will, and whether or not we are reflecting it back with the same attitude and consistency and intention, becoming one with that will. So Black Moon Lilith, Sagittarius, you know, we're in a place where there could be feedback from people, from the environment, from the circumstance, from institutions that challenges your confidence and the expanded beliefs that you're allowing yourself to incorporate into the body, and to the greater range of freedom that you're claiming through allowing yourself to be innovative enough as the chaos teaches you to be innovative. And the fear of other people, the insecurity of other people who have not tapped into that oneness with the universe and the consciousness of the matriarchal source, trusting the will and intent of the mother universe. They will question you because they're projecting their fear on you. Oh, why would you do that? Oh, that's not how you do it. Oh, that's not safe. Well, why would you? Oh, that's just crazy. Oh, I don't understand that. Well, that ain't how we do it. Shut the. That's what you're gonna be hearing a lot. Because you're part of the will of the universe, therefore you are innovating. You are already in the nature of Aquarius. And in the nature of Aquarius, you naturally attract rejection. You naturally attract people who question you, who judge you and criticize you because they themselves don't have the courage to set the tone, the pace, the standard, the pattern for the future. They can't see the future like you see the future. They can't see the range of possibility like you see it, and they can't claim it with courage and conviction because they don't really believe in what they see. They see you doing it, and it exposes, rather or not, they should have the courage to do the same, or why haven't they come up with it? What's missing that you don't have the courage or the vision to be a visionary and act on it? Why do you want to tear me down because you see that I do and you don't? You want to stop me from creating the future because you don't have a vision to project into the future, so you want to slow me down and stop me? You want it to be you instead? Be my guest. Whatever your vision is, do it. Bring it into existence. Nobody's stopping you. Why you gotta hate on somebody else that is? Because believe me, that's exactly what's coming. Because if you should step into that energy, somebody's coming out to try to stop you, and most likely it's going to come from your Aquarius position. Because Aquarius is what's going to filter out the fruit of that Capricorn process. Understand that.